Welcome to our channel. Most people overlook dimes without a second thought, but a few rare ones have stunned collectors with their value and mystery. These small coins hold stories that many don't know about. Let's uncover them one by one. The Roosevelt dime has been a part of everyday American life since 1946. You've probably handled dozens, maybe hundreds, without giving them a second thought. But sometimes, something small and unexpected can turn an ordinary-looking coin into a collector's dream. That's exactly what happened with a dime minted in 1999 at the Denver Mint. At first glance, it looked just like all the others. But hidden in plain sight, it held a surprise. To understand why this coin stands out, we need to look briefly at how the Roosevelt dime came to be. After President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away in 1945, there was strong public support to honor him on U.S. currency. Because of his connection to the March of Dimes and his leadership during the Depression and World War II, the dime was chosen. The design was created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver at the U.S. Mint. On the front, we see Roosevelt's profile, simple, strong, and recognizable. On the back, there's a torch, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength. That design has remained mostly unchanged for decades. From 1946 to 1964, Roosevelt dimes were made of 90% silver. But in 1965, due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint switched to a clad composition, copper-nickel on the outside, bonded to a pure copper core. That's the version most of us use today. The 1999 dime was one of these modern clad coins, and millions of them were struck. The Denver Mint, where this dime came from, used the D mint mark to indicate the coin's origin. It appears just above the year on the obverse. That year, the Mint produced tens of millions of dimes, most of them made for circulation, ending up in cash registers, vending machines, and change jars across the country. But sometimes, collectors come across coins that don't quite match the rest. In some cases, it's a misprint. Other times, it's an unusual strike, or a flaw in the planchet. And once in a while, a coin is made using the correct materials and correct dies, but something about its appearance still makes it different. That's what happened with this 1999 D. Roosevelt dime. It wasn't missing any details. It wasn't off-center. It wasn't made from the wrong metal. It just looked better. It had unusually reflective surfaces, more like a proof coin than a regular circulation piece. And the raised parts of the design had a frosted appearance that contrasted with the mirror-like background. Normally, those effects are only found on proof coins, which are made using special dies and planchets. Proof coins are struck at the San Francisco Mint for collectors, not for circulation. They are made slowly, with polished dies and treated blanks, to create sharp, high-contrast finishes. Business strike coins, like this one from Denver, are made in large numbers, quickly, and without that extra attention. That's why this particular dime stood out. Even though it was clearly a Denver business strike, its appearance was strikingly similar to a proof coin. It had no mint documentation as part of a special issue. It had simply come out of the normal production process looking completely different from the others. At first, it might have gone unnoticed. But eventually, a collector with a sharp eye picked it out. The coin was then submitted to a well-known third-party grading service for a professional evaluation. Grading services examine coins under magnification and assign a number from 1 to 70 based on the condition, detail, and overall surface quality. Most coins that enter circulation fall well below mint state. Even coins pulled from mint rolls rarely achieve the highest grades, but this 1999 D. Roosevelt dime received a grade of mint state 70, the top score. That alone would have made it notable. But there was more. The graders also observed that the coin had proof-like qualities, smooth, mirrored fields with a frosted design. It wasn't labeled a proof coin, because it wasn't one. But it had the same visual effect, something that's extremely uncommon in modern business strike coins. The combination of a flawless mint state 70 grade and these proof-like features is almost unheard of in coins from this time period. Most dimes from 1999, especially business strikes, show minor nicks or bag marks from the minting and handling process. But this coin was different. Its surface was clean, its strike was sharp, and its finish was unusually reflective. In the world of coin collecting, rarity and condition are two key factors. A coin doesn't need to be old or made of silver to be valuable. If it's the only known example of its kind in top condition, it can be worth a lot. In this case, collectors had never seen another 1999 business strike dime with both proof-like surfaces and a perfect grade. As word of the coin spread through the collecting community, interest grew. It had all the right traits to be something truly special, not just a high grade, but also a visual quality that made it stand out. Collectors of Roosevelt dimes, modern rarities, and even general U.S. coin enthusiasts took notice. Eventually, the coin was offered at auction. Bidders recognized its uniqueness right away. Unlike other collectibles that are rare by mintage numbers alone, this coin was rare by a mix of factors: strike quality, appearance, and certified condition. Some collectors hoped it was a one-of-a-kind find. When the bidding ended, the final price for this dime was $40,000. A 10-cent coin, made in 1999 for everyday use, had sold for that amount because of how it looked and how well it was preserved. It's an example of how even modern coins can become valuable under the right circumstances. The second coin in today's lineup might seem familiar at first glance. It's a 1991 Roosevelt dime minted at the Denver Mint. For most people, it looks like any other dime they've used in their daily life: no silver, no special markings, and no obvious sign that it's anything unusual. But this particular example isn't just another coin pulled from a drawer. It's one that captured the attention of collectors for reasons that weren't immediately obvious. By 1991, the Roosevelt dime had already become a quiet fixture in American currency. Introduced in 1946, it had honored President Franklin D. Roosevelt not only for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, but also for his personal connection to the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio. It was a meaningful tribute, and the design chosen for the dime reflected both strength and dignity. On the front, Roosevelt's profile faces left, confident, clean, and instantly recognizable. The reverse carries a trio of symbols: a torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, representing liberty, peace, and strength. Simple as it may be, this design has remained almost unchanged for decades, standing the test of time and public familiarity. The year 1991 didn't mark any major anniversary or change in the Roosevelt dime series. It was a normal production year. The Denver Mint struck over 600 million of these coins for circulation, part of the routine output to meet the nation's demand for coinage. These coins were minted quickly, packaged into bags or rolls, and distributed into circulation. For all practical purposes, they were ordinary. So how did one 1991 Roosevelt dime break that mold? The answer lies not in the design or the materials, but in the condition. Most business strike coins, even brand new ones, show some marks or imperfections from the minting process. They are struck at high speeds, mixed with other coins, and rarely come out perfect. The 1991 dime followed that same process. But somehow, one example avoided all the usual signs of wear or contact. It was preserved in such flawless condition that it would later be described as perfect under magnification. This particular dime was eventually discovered by someone who noticed something different. The coin had a smooth, brilliant surface, cleaner than what you'd expect from a business strike. The details were fully visible. Roosevelt's hair was sharply defined. The torch on the reverse showed full detail, including the upper and lower horizontal bands. These bands, which are often faint or incomplete, were clearly struck, a detail that collectors refer to as full bands, and which increases a coin's value significantly. The fields, the flat areas around the raised design, were remarkably smooth. The edges were sharp. There were no dings, no scratches, no cloudiness. It was as if this coin had been struck with extra care, even though it came from a facility not typically associated with collector-quality production. When the coin was submitted to a top-tier grading service, it was placed under magnification and reviewed by multiple experts. The verdict: Mint State 70. That's the highest grade possible. It means the coin was perfect, not just nice, not just well preserved, but flawless. No marks. No handling wear. No imperfections, even under a 5x lens. That kind of result is extremely rare for a business strike coin, especially one struck in the early 90s, when quality control varied from batch to batch. What made this example even more impressive was that it showed a slight proof-like quality. Although not officially a proof coin, it had mirrored surfaces and frosted design elements. That contrast gave it an appearance usually reserved for coins struck with specially prepared dies. But this was no proof. It was made for general circulation, just like millions of others that year. The discovery turned heads. Collectors who specialize in modern U.S. coinage quickly took notice. For many, this dime represented the peak of what's possible in a circulation coin, a coin that somehow managed to survive the minting process, handling, and storage without a single blemish. Interest in high-grade modern coins has grown in recent years. As older rare coins become harder to acquire, more collectors are focusing on finding the finest known examples of modern issues. Coins like this 1991 Roosevelt dime are especially prized because they combine high mintage with extreme rarity in perfect condition. They're common in theory, but nearly impossible to find like this. After grading, the coin was placed into a secure holder and listed for auction. It didn't take long for the bids to rise. Collectors recognized it as possibly the finest known example from that year and mint. The combination of full bands detail, perfect surfaces, and an official MS-70 grade made it stand out in every way. The auction drew attention not only from Roosevelt dime specialists, but also from general U.S. collectors who understood how tough it is to find modern coins in flawless condition. The final result surprised many, but made sense to those who understood what they were looking at. In the end, this unassuming 1991 Roosevelt dime, originally minted for just 10 cents, sold for $56,000. That's the kind of result that reminds collectors why they search. A coin like this doesn't need silver or gold to be valuable. It doesn't need to be from the 1800s. Sometimes, a coin becomes rare because of how perfectly it was made, and how perfectly it was preserved. Our next coin might not stand out at first. It's a 1967 Roosevelt dime, one of the most common coins from the late 1960s. To most people, it looks like any other 10-cent piece they've seen or used. There's no mint mark, it's not silver, and there's no error visible to the naked eye. But this dime holds a secret. In the world of coin collecting, a coin doesn't have to be old or shiny to be rare. Sometimes, its value lies in something far more subtle, and far more surprising. To understand why this 1967 dime became so significant, we need to step back and look at what was happening in American coinage at the time. In the mid-1960s, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. Rising silver prices had caused widespread coin hoarding. Silver dimes and quarters were vanishing from circulation, and the mint had to act quickly. That's when the Coinage Act of 1965 changed everything. Silver was eliminated from circulating dimes, and a new metal composition was introduced, copper-nickel clad over a copper core. This change wasn't just about metal. The mint also suspended mint marks from 1965 through 1967. Officials believed that removing mint marks would help reduce collecting and hoarding of coins from certain locations. As a result, all dimes struck in 1967, whether from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, were indistinguishable from one another. No mint marks. Just the design, the date, and the coin's basic features. The design itself was unchanged since the Roosevelt dime first appeared in 1946. The obverse featured President Franklin D. Roosevelt, commemorating his leadership and his connection to the March of Dimes campaign. The reverse showed a torch of liberty, flanked by an olive branch symbolizing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength. It was a design rooted in symbolism but kept deliberately simple. The year 1967 saw enormous production numbers. Over 2.2 billion dimes were minted and released into circulation. These were working coins, not collector's items. They were handled, spent, and forgotten. Most people never thought twice about them. And that's exactly why what happened next is so fascinating. Among the billions of dimes struck that year, one coin surfaced decades later that defied all expectations. It had all the same details: Roosevelt's portrait, the torch, the branches. No mint mark. Same composition. Same weight and size. But it didn't look like the others. It stood out immediately to the trained eye. The coin had an unusually sharp strike. Roosevelt's hair showed full separation and depth. The torch on the reverse wasn't worn down or flat, it showed full, clear banding across its horizontal lines. For collectors, this is a major detail. These are known as full bands. They indicate that the coin was struck with precision and care, something that rarely happened in this high-volume production year. Even more impressive were the surfaces. The coin had a bright, reflective quality. It wasn't just shiny, it had a mirrored finish across the fields, with lightly frosted devices. It wasn't a proof coin, but it looked very close. These features are called proof-like characteristics, and they're extremely rare in coins not made for collectors. It suggested that the coin was struck early with fresh dies, possibly under unusual conditions. When submitted to a professional grading service, the coin underwent detailed analysis. Under magnification, there were no marks, no wear, and no loss of detail. It achieved a remarkable mint state 68 grade, with proof-like surfaces noted. For context, most 1967 dimes, if they survive at all in mint state, are typically found in grades MS62 to MS65. Even finding an MS66 is a challenge. But MS68, with proof-like quality? That put this coin in a category of its own. For collectors, this coin became something special. It's not just about condition, it's about the odds. With over 2 billion dimes struck that year, the chance of finding one in this condition is incredibly small. And it wasn't preserved in a collector's set. It didn't come from a proof roll. It was a circulation strike, intended for everyday use, that somehow managed to avoid every scratch, every mark, every bit of wear. That level of preservation is almost impossible. As news of the coin spread, its reputation grew. Roosevelt dime collectors, modern coin specialists, and even general hobbyists began to take notice. It wasn't just an ordinary clad coin anymore. It became a perfect example of how rarity and value aren't always about age or silver content. Sometimes, it's about being the only one of its kind, and today, the value of that one dime has reached an astonishing $88,000. That's the kind of number most people never associate with a modern dime. But this coin proves that in the world of numismatics, anything is possible. Condition, uniqueness, and timing can turn a 10-cent coin into a treasure. So next time you come across an old dime, especially from the 1960s, take a closer look. The shine, the strike, the detail in the torch, even the feel of the surface, all of it might mean more than you think. If you're enjoying these rare coin discoveries, be sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more.